Welcome to Street Knowledge with Chris Graham.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to talk some Staunton issues here on our podcast today. I'm Chris Graham, and I'm joined by Hunter and Sheila Ahmadi. And you might remember from a couple of months ago, we talked with some members of the group Silenced, and they were very active at that time, trying to get Staunton City Council to reverse a very controversial decision, to say the least, that was cutting off access to city residents that had been gained during the pandemic via remote access to be able to contribute thoughts during city council meetings. We're going to report today on success, probably backhanded success, but still success nonetheless. And then maybe talk about the next steps for the group in terms of not just continued vigilance on the access issue, but also just what might be next on the agenda for the group. So, Sheila Ahmadi and Hunter, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chris, for having us.
So maybe I'll start with Sheila first. Take us into, Sheila, what has happened in the last couple of months from the time that Staunton City Council had cut off access to people via remote access to city council meetings. I know that there is sort of good news, but we have to couch it. So take us into what's been going on the last few weeks.
Well, I guess within the last few weeks, they being the city council, reversed their decision, allowing people to have access. So now, during matters of the public, people can speak for 3 minutes, and it can be an unlimited amount of people to do that. And prior to that, it was just like different hoops that had to be jumped through in order to have access. The CARES Act money provided the ability for people to have full access to speak their mind. And then City Council decided that they wanted to put so many different restrictions, how much time you can speak, when you can speak. And it just got so convoluted. And then they finally decided that they had an epiphany. I guess the mayor had an epiphany, and it was related to that situation that happened in Loudoun County, where it was critical race theory that was being debated, and transgender policy in Ashburn, and a parent, became out of character, I would say, with speaking his thoughts on that, and then he was taken out of the meeting. And it seemed like due to that, it appeared that the mayor had a change of heart, because she felt that, she felt that she didn't want anything like that to happen, and that people could have definite full access all the time based upon what happened there. And Silence did a lot to get people in the community on board with speaking out, but that was part of the decision for the change in consideration for people to have more full access to city council speaking out.
And Hunter, do you feel like this is a victory for the group? I mean, I guess it is. You're moving in the right direction, but what are your thoughts?
Yes, it's definitely a victory, but how we won that victory is where I have concerns, because I think Mayor Oakes's reversal of the policy changes that she was originally supporting is suspect given the circumstances, and disingenuous. I think there was something underlying that sudden reversal that's not so attractive. And I think it has to do with her perspective and Vice Mayor Robertson's perspective on what actually happened at that Loudoun School Board meeting, because they seem to think that the First Amendment rights of the public at that meeting were violated, and may not have had access to the video clips that showed that that was not the case. That the matters from the public period was ended after the public was warned that it would have to be ended if they did not control themselves in the meeting. And then they didn't. After a 5-minute break was taken, the same chaos ensued. And so the school board members had to shut it down. So it seems like Robertson and Oaks didn't have access to those facts, and were concerned about perpetuating or supporting the lack of public access in city council meetings. That maybe that wasn't a very good, I don't know if all that makes sense. It's pretty complicated.
And we're having, you're breaking up just a little bit, but no, your point is valid. It's okay. So on the one hand, the majority as we've taken to calling them, wanted to, it seemed like wanted to clearly take away the free speech rights of people who they disagreed with. We even had one city council member post on his Facebook page. He wanted to shut things down because he was concerned about all the negative comments that were coming his way. First Amendment doesn't say you're protected from negative comments. That's not the case. But Sheila, we were chatting before we hit record. We're recording this on Tuesday, and we just last night the Staunton School Board had a meeting actually discussing, among other things, the transgender policy issue that has been at the fore, not just recently with the Supreme Court decision in the Gavin Grimm case, but actually even state laws passed last year, and Virginia Department of Education policies that are requiring local school systems to adopt and adapt their policies. And so last night, I think they maybe thought that the floodgates would open up and they would have 500 people at the Staunton School Board meeting last night, like maybe a number of people were at the Augusta County School Board meeting a couple weeks ago, and actually just a few speakers and only one who was against the policy. So maybe they opened these floodgates back up and didn't get the response they expected.
Probably so. I think the different things now that are contentious, people want to jump on them without any clear objective thinking. It's just to be there to enrage the situation rather than to objectively look at what's going on and speak the truth and try to come to some understanding. Because I think just here and across the country, people just get sound bites of information, then they go their way with it without any understanding, and it just creates a volatile situation of people not knowing and spreading a lot of untruths.
So, Ann, your mic cut off, was coming in and out. Maybe if you wanted to expound on your thoughts and also and just talk about this issue in general. I didn't want to cut you off there, but you had some more thoughts there maybe to share.
Well, I'm concerned about whether you can actually hear me or not.
No, we can hear you. Yeah, we got you. We got you now. Yes.
So, so I want the mayor's decision to open up access so widely, not just remote access, but in-person access to the public, that her statements about why she reversed her decision or her thinking about it, I would really like those to be genuine, and that we could truly celebrate this accomplishment that the Silenced Staunton campaign made in the 10 weeks that we held the issue up in the faces of city council members to achieve this success. I would like it to be a genuine change of heart on their parts, but I don't trust the underlying motivation. And so I'm not sure how we move forward with it. The Mayor Oaks did say at the very end of her speech that these changes weren't necessarily permanent. And I took note of that, because it's like, well, when it no longer serves you, are you going to go back to restricting our access? So I think we need to be very vigilant. We need to continue showing up every meeting, let them know that we're watching and listening, and that we will continue to demand complete full accessibility to meetings, accountability from our city council members, and transparency, that we're not going away.
And this is a tough time of year in that sense, because we're in the summertime now. The busy time for a city council or board of supervisors or any kind of body like that generally is in the early part of the calendar year. They're getting ready for budgets, and then they're going through budgets and that kind of thing, and policy reviews come up and that kind of thing. The next few months could be tough in that respect. And what the tough part of this could be then for your group, Ann and Sheila, maybe I'll throw this question to Sheila first, is that, yeah, you lose that momentum. You've got this victory, you've got people, the right to speak is back, and congratulations, victory achieved. And then a few months go where there's really nothing on the agenda, or very limited items on the agenda. There's maybe not a lot to talk about. People kind of lose that momentum. They get back to their regular lives. They don't pay attention to what's going on at city council. And then quietly, perhaps this is a great time, if you're so inclined, if you're on the city council and you don't want to have public speech, hey, let's just sneak something in here on the matters to be voted on the agenda with no discussion kind of thing. And we're going to quietly end this public comment period again. So this is the important part. You've got to maintain that momentum during a kind of quiet time of year. Sheila, talk about what the strategy might be to kind of keep that momentum going.
I think it's just to be always vigilant and knowing that, you could get a curveball at any time, and to know what we have done in the past to speak to issues. I know this critical race theory is floating around, quite a bit, and I think that's going to be more prominent. So just being able to know what are the current issues that are going to be before the city council and the community, and to be prepared to educate people so that they know, and just always be on guard. And it's a shame that you'll always have to be on guard, but that's where we are.
I don't watch Fox News, America One, or what's the other one? Newsmax. I wonder what those people are telling their audiences in terms of the idea that critical race theory is going to be something that's going to be in elementary school next year or something like that. That's a pretty high level kind of level discussion.
I understand it's supposed to be taught in law schools.
Law schools, maybe graduate schools. I mean, higher level undergrads, even at best. That's. I mean, again, I don't know what they're telling people out there, but Ann, your thoughts on what the next few months need to do to what your group needs to do to keep things going in the right direction the next few months.
Well, our direct action group is comprised of several members from Reclaim Augusta, which is an organization that was founded about 3 years ago. I was one of the co-founders, and our mission is to advance community self-government and the rights of nature. And so there's still a whole lot of work to do in that area. And part of it is to encourage more Staunton residents to get involved in city government, and to help them understand, like we needed to learn, why it's so important to be engaged in city government, because there are elected officials and they are supposed to be responsive to us. And if we're not there, then they make their own decisions. So that work will continue, the education and outreach to community members. And also the founder of Staunton Organizing, Nitch Narducci, she's been reaching out to younger residents and bringing them into the fold to work with them on transparency, accountability, accessibility issues that speak to them. And also, beginning to think more and more about all sorts of equity issues that we would like to advance in Staunton City, with a civil rights focus.
That's what my next question was going to be. Yeah, access is a fundamental issue. You've had a victory there. You want to maintain that victory, so you got to keep fighting for that too. what the next other outside of access. So it sounds like equity, civil rights issues. Maybe expound upon that. Maybe Sheila, I'll throw that to you first. Expound upon what some of those goals might be, some of those priorities might be in those areas.
Some of the areas would be equity in the school system. We have the Staunton Equity organization, but just making sure that we continue to have a good composite mixture of teachers in the school system that represent minority students, to make sure that the police department is responsive and not profiling people, being sensitive to how they approach people, more equity in the system here of work, because most people in this area are low wage, and it really impacted people during the pandemic with the jobs that they were in and barely being able to make it. Housing is a continued problem in the area. We have housing, but not enough affordable housing. I think it's been said even in city council meetings that the mission is the place of last resort for people, and that's just a temporary place for people. And it should be better systems of transitional housing for people and moving them into affordable housing, just like the mayor and the vice mayor and all other folk of that ilk live, without, having any concerns about a roof over their head and safe housing.
So I know the next elections are still more than, from a local perspective, city elections are more than a year off. Is there any thought to mobilizing to make sure that the voters get out? I think, Ann, you mentioned mobilizing young folks to be engaged. Voting is a very simple way to get engaged, and also maybe to see if you can support some candidates eventually. I know we're a ways off from there, but is that something that's in the long-term view of the group?
Yes, that's in the works right now. So I suspect announcements will be made in the next couple of months.
Okay, great. That's an important part of this as well. As we know from last May, it's a very important part of this as well. And so maybe as we're starting to wrap up here, the visibility of the group, now that you have, the attention of City Council, I imagine that, there will be a presence every other Thursday night for the duration. Maybe talk about that and how important that part of it is.
I feel that it's very important for us to continue to be there. And I just want to mention Deborah Kushner, who has been very great with being the focal point for us to keep us focused and to move in that direction, and all other members of our group. We make sure that if I'm not there or if Ann isn't there, that it's always a rotation of people, and everybody has been great about coming forward, being there, doing signs, and I apologize for that, doing signs, and just having that presence. And it's like, you can't take your foot off the gas pedal.
And Hunter, last final thoughts here as we are wrapping up.
Well, I just, I'm chuckling because I'm remembering something that one of the members of the Silenced Staunton campaign said, is that, they essentially are quaking in their boots every time those pink shirts walk into the room because, we're a force to be reckoned with, and, not backing down. And a big part of it is, advancing local democracy, and you really can't argue with that. We don't present ourselves as a partisan group. I think many of us have differing political opinions and philosophies, but what we do agree on is the importance of promoting, advancing local democracy. And I think that's one of the reasons we are such a powerful force.
And Hunter, Sheila Ahmadi, thank you for joining us here on the podcast. Really appreciate your insight, and we'll have you back on again soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris, for your continued support.
Thank you for listening to Street Knowledge with Chris Graham. Get up-to-the-minute local news, politics, and sports online at AugustaFreePress.com.